Welcome to episode 321 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and I have Mike Potter back on the show. How are you doing, Mike?
Good. How are you doing, Dave?
Doing great. So glad you're here. Have lots of things to talk about this week. And also back is Marty Jencius. How you doing, Marty?
Good. It's, the fun time to record this show near the end of the week. It means the weekend's ahead. And right. So I'm in a good mood.
I got a long weekend ahead here too. Labor Day coming up here in the U.S. And Ben Roethig he's here as well. How you doing, Ben?
Good. It is your guys' weekend, not mine.
Oh, that's right.
That's what you get for having a job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't say I wasn't working. I just said it was a good weekend. I just don't have to go to the office. That's the best part.
And last but certainly not least, Jeff Gamet is here. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing all right. And I think I should point out, after giving Ben a hard time about having a job, when you are self-employed, you never have weekends and you never have holidays.
Yeah, I think two of you should know that.
Very, very true, Jeff.
Mm-hmm. You should know that. So we got lots to talk about this week. Beta keeps going on here. We have this thing called GlowTime. It might be some event. We'll talk about that shortly here, as well as got some great other topics and just pretty good amount of news this week we'll hit on as well. So let's dive right into the topics and talk about beta. Apple did seed the 8th beta of iOS 18 and iPadOS 18 to developers, and the public beta is now available as well. And boy, they've been cranking along here, going into the betas here. iOS 18 is going to introduce AI or Apple Intelligence. Talk about that in a minute with 18.1. We've talked about the Control Center. I tell you, I can't wait to really dive into that once it's on my primary device, and we're definitely going to be excited about that. Start with Ben. What anything different in Beta 8 for you?
I'm actually on 18.1 Beta 3.
Oh, that's right. You're on 15. That's right.
But from what I have seen, they have been feature set for a couple betas now. They're just kind of fine tuning things ahead of the 9th.
Yep. Are you on 18.1 as well, Marty?
Yeah, I'm on 18.1, and I started reading all these articles about the wonderful things that you can do with Apple Intelligence in 18.1 with the developer beta, and I couldn't do them. And then I realized that you have to go into the settings and look for Apple Intelligence and turn it on. And once I flip the switch, then you can start playing with with what they have currently in terms of Apple Intelligence.
Yep.
So that was a missed piece for me. I mean, I've been on 18.1 for a while, but you got to flip the switch.
Yeah. And let's just go right ahead and move on. Jeff, do you have it installed on your iPad? Or did you dabble in that yet, or no?
I have 18.0 developer beta on my iPad, and the only change that I'm noticing with the update that we just got is that my battery life tanked. So I think that they're running some very, very hardcore debugging code right now before the official release.
Yeah, it must be. Yeah, but I think I noticed that too on. Well, I don't have 18. I have 18.0 on my beta iPad. I did notice the battery life was going pretty quick. So that's something that we definitely, hopefully, they'll get rid of. That would make only sense here. So, but as you guys mentioned, 18.1 is out for iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. Is basically the only device that can support that right now, as well as iPad. The M series iPads can also support it. As you said, Apple Intelligence has the includes those writing tools available whenever text can be selected or edited. Siri has a new design, but it's still got a long ways to go. Would you guys agree with that, Ben and Marty?
Go ahead, Ben.
It's pretty much the same old Siri with the look of the new Siri so far.
Yeah, I first started noticing it when I asked the S lady, and then I didn't get that little orb that moves around that you're used to down at the bottom, but the whole screen starts glowing in the frame.
Yeah.
And it's kind of wild. It's kind of wild to have that happen. And she's not as bright as we hoped at this point.
I'm
I-
not surprised.
No, not at all. The other betas, tvOS 18 is out as well, and that's nothing really too exciting to talk about with that. And that's subtitles and some aspect ratio changes, and nothing really big deal about that. But yeah, kind of talking about the two versions of, again, you guys talked about 18 versus 18.1. How do the two versions compare? And again, really the timing is because of Apple Intelligence for and with 18.1, and the timing of when is it going to come out? Are we probably going to think that mid-September, as we record this, that's going to be its release? We know that 18.0 will be released at first, and then 18.1 will probably be released later. I can't imagine that they would go right in right away. I bet they're going to be at least a month delay, October timeframe, before 18.1 will be ready for iPhone 15. And it'd be interesting too. It's when the iPhone 16, as we expect to be announced, we'll talk in a minute, would also have 18.0. I would think it would only make sense, but who knows? Apple's done stranger things, so that's going to be definitely interesting. Another thing I want to hit on real quick is, again, how excited I am about the new Control Center. The fact of the matter that you can actually add multiple pages to Control Center now. I think this Control Center is going to be such a game changer, in my opinion, that you can just really scroll down and create lots of pages in Control Center and have one place to go. And maybe that might change people's behavior with Control Center's use, because we were so used to it being very limited to what it could do. Now you're going to be able to add multiple pages. I've been playing with it a little bit. And Ben, have you looked at Control Center as much with multiple pages?
Not a whole lot yet, but it just adds to the overall customization of the operating system, which has been greatly enhanced in this year's versions.
Yep. Did you try it at all, Marty?
No, I haven't tried it. I'm kind of looking at it. I'm not a big Control Center user. In the sense of it's not the first place I go to. Generally, it's open the phone and do a search to get where I want to go. Okay. There are also some functions that I think are great for folks who have, home integrated and have automated systems in their home. It looks like you can do some more granularity with that process. But I don't have any of that hooked up in my home because I have other occupants who turn lights off the old-fashioned way. So,
yeah.
Like an animal.
Yeah. So that's pretty much beta in the iOS and iPadOS world and others. But as we are going to be having weekly here, since we have a Vision Pro expert, as we could say, is Marty here. I have a Vision Pro this week. There was a couple stories I wanted to hit on. First off is the 8th beta of VisionOS 2 is out. How is that looking with beta on Vision Pro, Marty?
I loaded it last night. I can't tell any discernible differences. And so I went to try and search through the developer notes. And the developer notes, each successive beta includes notes from previous betas. So the new stuff is kind of hidden in there. I guess, and we're getting probably one more round and we're into the gold master. So they're just doing some fine tuning with it. So you're not seeing big development. I go to Reddit actually to see, because when a beta comes out, those guys go crazy and try to see if they found anything, and they're not really finding anything. The funniest comment I heard read on Reddit was, well, it feels a little lighter. That somehow
gotta love it.
Yeah. So, it's good crowd, but they do all the searching, trying to figure it out. And there are some disappointed voices because it looks like that large Mac window sharing possibility, that cinematic kind of way of using Windows, we won't see probably till 2.1. They just said it was going to come out with version 2. They didn't say which version of version 2. So they're
Didn't they
nowhere near
imply
getting that.
It was going to be later.
Yeah.
At some point after the initial 2.0 release.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of disappointment, at least in the community, about they started to get hungry for it, and it's not going to be served up as the appetizer.
Yep. I just missed your notes here, Ben. I'll go back to 18.1 real quick. You did mention about the 2 new features that was in there, the Magic Eraser for photos and being able to install App Store apps on external drives in Sequoia. If you wanted to touch on that, just to make sure we cover that.
For people like Marty who are familiar with Android, there's been a Google Photos feature where if you do not want a object in your photo, you can just select it, and then poof, it's gone. Well, as of the 0.1, that's now in Apple Photos, and for the most part, I've been playing with it. It works pretty brilliantly.
Nice.
Yep. For Sequoia, I mean, especially with more and larger games coming to the Mac, being able to offload App Store apps onto a large external hard drive is something people have been asking for a very, very long time. And it's great to see Apple finally doing that.
Yep. Do you want to add that comment, Mike, that you wanted about the photos?
Oh, I'll mention that about photos. But let me start with the Sequoia comment there at the end. Why can't I just drag apps to an external drive anyway? I can do that now. They install by default in the applications folder, but I can drag them anywhere I want to on the Mac after that.
Correct, but if it's something that's very large, you can just now install it directly into the external drive.
Gotcha. All right, I see. So if you're out of space on your primary drive or nearing out of space, then you want to download something like the Blackmagic video editing app, the name of which escapes me at the moment, which is a good 3 to 5 gigabyte download.
Yeah.
Tell it to download directly to an external drive.
Correct. DaVinci Resolve.
Gotcha. Okay. That's cool.
And anything you said, mentioned photos. Yeah.
The comment about Google Photos is that's available on iOS as well with Google Photos as long as you're a Google One subscriber.
Right.
So, the Magic Eraser feature is there if you're an iPhone user. You just have to know it's there, and you have to pay a little bit to Google every year. Was it $15-$20, something like that a year to
I pay for a small
subscriber.
Amount. It's a small amount of storage, like $20 for, I think I get 100 gigabytes or something like some crazy
amount of storage for $20. Yeah.
Yeah. It's that I've been grandfathered into that plan forever. Something that makes me a Google One subscriber. So
Me too.
Me too. Yep.
Want to go back to Vision Pro real quick. Sorry, we had a zig and zag here. I missed the comments, but also with the Vision Pro, Apple Immersive Series Elevated is coming to the Vision Pro on September 6th as we record this. Apple's latest immersive video series for the Vision Pro is set to launch, and it's a new 3D experience. And there's a teaser with the upcoming date is listed in the immersive video section on the Vision Pro. This was first announced back in July of 2024, but did not provide launch timing for the show. According to Apple, the aerial travel series whisks in views around iconic vistas from staggering heights that include volcanoes, waterfalls, and more in Hawaii, and gaining a all-new perspective as you take aerial tours across the world's most remarkable landscapes. Have you tried this, Marty?
Well, they have this series that they do with Vision Pro that do this immersive video. And they had one that came out, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago that was an elephant sanctuary in Kenya. And it was an incredible video. Not only that, it told a really good story, so I learned a lot about elephants, but the immersive sense of it was incredible. What I've noticed, I went in to look at this. It's coming out September 6th. The next version of this is coming out September 6th. They're going to start with a elevated over Hawaii, but they have some things in the plan And when I started going through it, it looks like National Geographic Explorer is working with Apple to produce these videos.
Mhm.
But I also saw a price tag of like $12 a month. So it
Wow.
could be that
Wow.
there's going to be some paid access that goes on with some of these videos.
That's going to be interesting. That's for sure. So that's the Vision Pro. So let's move on to the Apple event announced this past week. It's on September 9th. It's called GlowTime. It's going to be at the Apple Park campus in Cupertino. Event will start at 10 a.m. Pacific, like it always does in most years it's been. Members of the media have been invited to attend, and this year's event will unveil, or probably more than likely, we would expect, is the new iPhone 16 lineup, new Apple Watch models, AirPods 4, that's what I think, and as well as we'll get official launch dates for all the OSs we expect, and some other software updates. And of course, you always got to analyze all the photos on all the imagery that they have on their announcements. It's glowing with excitement, as Jaws says on a tweet a post from X, that it's going to be exciting to see. Apple is supposed to be adding an 18 chip to all models to the entire iPhone 16 lineup, and Apple Watch is going to be 10. It's going to be 10 years old. Can you guys believe that? 2015 is when the first Apple Watch came out. I can't believe that's been 10 years now. Yeah, thinner design, larger display, but of course, all rumors. But I think they're pretty notable when they're pretty understanding of what to expect here. So we'll be streaming it, and I have this feeling we might be doing this show on for Mac Guys Only. This thing called the Reaction Time episode that'll be
Reaction Time episodes. Yeah,
we'll be doing that, which you always have a ball doing. So that'll be coming up as well. So. Yeah, what else can we say? But other than it's finally going to be here, and interestingly enough, they put it on Monday, and I have a feeling they did that because of the presidential debates that are in the U.S. happening.
I think
that
that's
Tuesdays.
a very safe assumption.
I'm going to go under that assumption. So, and it's definitely going to be focused here. Let's open up the panel. See what you guys think. We think the iPhone for sure is going to have it. I mean, it's a given. We always have a new iPhone every year, so we know it's going to be there's going to be a 16 model. We know there's going to be a watch. Let's go to the iPad a little bit because there has been some speculation about the iPad Mini because the Mini stock has been thinning pretty rapidly. It's harder to find one, and there is rumor saying that potentially Apple would also announce an iPad Mini 7. What do you think? Because I know you're a big Mini user. Jeff, and what do you think?
I think it's very likely we will get a new Mini. However, I don't expect it to actually be part of Apple's media event. I think instead we'll just get a press release, and the new Mini will be on the website, and that's that. And it may not even be the same day, but I don't think it's going to be part of a media event.
Okay. What do you guys think with the iPhone? What you thinking that iPad Mini is going to get announced?
I think it's definitely going to be something that's imminent. And I think whether that Mini is something that's going to be just a press release or integral part of the presentation comes down to the screen. If we're talking about a single panel OLED screen, then they are probably going to talk about it during the presentation.
Yeah.
If it's pretty much just the same generation, same Mac Mini, or not Mac Mini, iPad Mini as we currently have, but with an A17 Pro, then it's going to be a press release.
Yeah, which makes sense. As I mentioned, the 10-year anniversary of the Apple Watch, we believe it's going to be called the Watch 10 or X, and don't have really a lot of speculation of what they're going to be working on. They got hypertension and sleep apnea detection coming. May not be ready for launch. They come to the same look at some of the features. Then also the Watch Ultra 3. They could release another Ultra, which is surprising because the two just, it's been a year. I think they held off a year when the first Ultra came out, and then the two came out the following year. So it's going to be interesting to see where the watch goes with that. Unlikely to be announced.
Out.
Go ahead. Yeah.
There will be no X in the Apple Watch 10 name. Apple has
No.
been meticulously removing X from everything for a long time. They're not going to take steps backwards now.
Yeah, since the iPhone 10.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
I don't know, Jeff. I don't know, Jeff. Bucket hats are back. Why not bring back the X?
Actually, that kind of logic is difficult to argue against.
It's difficult to argue with any logic that comes out of this brain, but
well, I mean, there is that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think X is tainted at this point. I mean, they were getting away from it and switched to 10, and then X just even got worse. So I think they're going to stay away from it.
Yeah. Plus, the X is something revolutionary to Apple. To be perfectly honest, what we're going to be seeing here is something very iterative. So we're going to be, the X product was basically the Apple Watch Ultra. And that will be on its third iteration.
That is sure. I'll make sure to give a shout out to everybody in our YouTube chat here at youtube.com/intouchedbyos. We have Cletus, we have Brian. Great to see you in the chat and following along with us tonight. Got about 8 people in the chat tonight, so that's great to see. So putting your comments, and if any questions while we're recording, please do. You can do that anytime you join us live on Thursday nights. So go check us out when you can. Let's go through a little more here. There are potentially some surprise announcements besides the other one. I'll mention I was going to have this in the news, but I already see this in here. There is an announcement. This is a big announcement. Ted Lasso season 4. I'm excited. Yeah. I'm really excited. The cast contract options have been picked up, and the return of Ted Lasso and other reporting corroborates the season 4 is indeed coming. Apple has not made an official announcement as of yet when it will return, but the iPhone 16 event would probably be the biggest stage for the company to make that announcement and surprise many viewers in the process. So maybe they're going to hold out on that. So the other one is there going to be a new Apple TV, the 4K? They haven't released one since 2022. Mark Urban's had some rumors about the fact that is there going to be another one? Maybe later on in the year, hard to say. So we're definitely going to be interesting to see if something of that nature gets announced as well. I think the one thing that won't get announced are new Macs. The Macs with M4 processors is probably something that is probably going to come down later down the line, because we've got MacBook Pros that are due for some upgrades with M4s. The Mac Mini is way overdue, and they're saying that that's going to be a possibility. The iMac should be getting some sort of update. And looking at timelines, hard to say. And probably I think a lot of Macs probably won't get released until 2025. M3 processors are pretty solid. Don't you think, Mike? The M3s are fine for what they have so far, but M4s obviously would be even nicer.
Look, honestly, for most users, an M1 is fine.
Right.
Yeah. But I heard a while ago, and I think this is a very credible thought, that the iMac is likely to be on more of a TikTok cycle. So we got the M1, the M3, and we may not see, despite the rumors, we may not see another iMac refresh until we are nearer to the M5 series. It just is, unfortunately, not that important a Mac in their lineup anymore. And I think the refresh cycle of it doesn't have to be on an annual basis. We just got the M3s. The M3 is a great computer.
Mm-hmm.
Let's ride it out for another year and see where we are next year. Mac Mini, yeah. Mac Studio definitely needs to be an upgrade. I think it makes sense to bring parity to the lineup and make them all M4s over, starting this fall and going into the spring. But I don't know. It's not a hard thing to do. But I don't know. I don't know if we're going to see it or not. It seems like Ben has some ideas on that.
I mean, let's be perfectly honest. As far as Macs go, the ones that people really care about are the laptops.
Right.
We might see the entire desktop lineup on the TikTok I can't talk today because desktop Macs are very, very new.
Yep. Go ahead, Jeff. You had thoughts.
Yes, I do. All right. So everyone has all these predictions about all these announcements that we may get at the Glow event. And my prediction is after the event, we're going to have all these people complaining, being disappointed because Apple didn't announce all these things that they're clearly not going to announce at this event. There will be no Macs. There will be no iPad. There will be no Apple TV. That's not what this event is for.
Mm-hmm.
We will hear about new iPhones. We might hear about a new Apple Watch telling us that there's a new season of Ted Lasso coming. Sure, because Apple likes to talk about Apple TV Plus at all their events. But all of this other stuff that people are saying, yeah, we might get these announcements too. No, we won't. It's not going to happen. That's not what this event is for.
Yeah, traditionally iPads have been October, Macs have been November. Well, traditionally, the last few years. iPads been October.
In the spring.
Yeah, iPads in the spring. We've had Macs in the spring. So yeah, no, Jeff's right. And I do like Ben's prediction that they're going to pick up the former Netflix series Glow, which was an amazing series, by the way. If nobody watched that, definitely watch Glow on Netflix. It was great.
Yes. And the big question here is, are we getting Ted Lasso season 4 or are we getting AFC Richmond season 1?
Yeah.
That's
last I heard, only 3 of the actors were picked up or signed so far.
Yeah, the other article I have as part of the topics here is Jason Sudeikis may not have a minimal involvement with this, which is interesting. He won't. That's some of this rumors. So he pretty much was the one person they depended on. I think Bill Lawrence, the co-creator, was trying to express the same sentiment about he's a pretty big part of this show, but maybe they're trying to pull focus on some of the other characters. So I think regardless, I think it's had such a hot run for the 3 seasons it has. I can't imagine that it wouldn't be successful with or minimally without.
You really need to finish watching season 3.
Yeah, you should.
Me too, Jeff.
I got sidetracked and never got back to it.
Well, pick up Bad Monkey.
Oh my God!
I've heard
we talked about that last week.
Say I need to watch Bad Monkey
and Sunny. If you've not been watching Sunny,
see all these great shows keep coming out, and I check them out, and then I watch them, and then later on I'm like, oh, I still need to go back and finish Ted Lasso.
Silo, yeah. So just Dave, if I may hijack your show for just a moment here, how many of you, and we'll ask the chat room too, how many of you out there have read more of the novels that these shows are based on because of the shows? We've picked up the novels of almost every single one of these shows that's been out there, except for the one that has not been translated from Spanish to English yet.
Well, now you just need to learn Spanish so you can get the full experience.
That's right. All 3 volumes of Silo. I have Sunny on order. Almost every show has been. Well, we didn't read the morning show because that's not a novel. I don't think. I think it's more of an accounting of something that happened behind the scenes in morning show. I don't know, but didn't read that. But the rest of them, we picked up the novels of just about everything.
There's been some pretty harsh criticism in comparing the novel version of Bad Monkey to what's being presented. It's almost like I enjoy the show so much, I don't want to be disappointed by reading the novel.
My wife is a big Carl Hiaasen fan, and was super excited, and she is loving the show. And simultaneous to watching the show, she's been reading the novel again, and has no criticism at all of the presentation of it. I think they've been doing a good job.
Yep. I mean, all I can say about adaptations is think of them as kind of a parallel universe to the novels. Not everything is going to be the same, but you're going to see kind of the same themes picked up.
Well, you tell stories in different ways for different mediums.
Yeah.
And Douglas Adams was the master of understanding this.
Mm,
And so the example, he wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as a radio play.
exactly.
And then when it was time to do a television version, to do a book, and just on, he rewrote the content for that medium. And knowing that when you go into a piece, it makes it much easier to accept the story. And sorry, I was going to take it off on a tangent, so I'll just stop.
Yeah, no, well, along those lines, Apple tends to smoothen out some of the more controversial aspects of novels when they adapt them for their television shows. And Bad Monkey is a great example of it. The lead character, Bad Monkey, did not just push some other guy into a bay that was on a golf cart. And if you haven't seen it, it's not really a spoiler. It was a much, much worse thing he did to the other character in the book. Much worse. Is that in the show? No, it's not. But that's because Apple tends to rein things in a little bit. So
I'm guessing for the way the story is being told on TV, and I have not read the book, that presenting what happened the way it was in the book would set a tone for the character in the series that wasn't appropriate for the story they were telling.
yeah, perhaps. Yes. I'll just leave it for others to discover what he does. It's not pleasant.
So let's move on to a new topic here. CarPlay. There's a couple good topics I wanted to hit this week. There's a good interesting article in Mac World about Apple's best software system is spinning its wheels. CarPlay is loved by its users, but its future as an Apple product lacks clear direction. And there's been a brief shining moment where it seemed Apple might really have cracked the automotive industry, as it wasn't necessarily for the reasons you might think. The company has tried hard for years to build its own car in a variety of ways. Of course, we know that flopped. But that project didn't go so well, so why not bring it back to the focus of CarPlay? And the article goes on to talk about the whole history of CarPlay and the discussions of that. But really, we haven't seen the full immersed version of CarPlay in new cars yet. They've been talking about this they were talking about this since WWDC, I think 2022 and 2023, but we still haven't seen any cars yet that has a full integrated CarPlay experience. Are any of you surprised about that? What you think? When is Apple going to get it released? Or is it the car manufacturers are really just holding back on it?
This is no surprise. Car manufacturers are not holding back either. The lead time for design and production of a car is a lot longer than people realize. The cars that are brand new on the road today were designed 8 years ago, easily.
Yeah.
So Apple announcing the new CarPlay 2 when they did made sense, because that's when car manufacturers are going to start working on how that will integrate into their platforms. Right. And that takes a long time.
Yeah.
I think that we're still, if we're lucky, a year away from a CarPlay 2 car on the road, but it's probably still longer than that. Also, as long as I'm on this little soapbox, I take umbrage with this entire piece. Apple has no clear vision for CarPlay. Excuse me. They have a very clear vision, and they have executed on that vision, and they have done very well with that execution. And it's very clear where they are going with this. They will have 2 versions of CarPlay: the completely immersive version and the in-dash entertainment system version. And where's the not clear part in all of this? Please help me understand.
Yeah. I mean, look at some of the other updates to CarPlay, wireless CarPlay. Well, that, because of both integration and regulatory issues, that took 5 years to get going. The same with, you're just now seeing, Apple integration with car locks. People expect computers /iOS integration times with cars That's just not going to happen when you have a thing that's literally anything electronic in that car, the federal government has to sign off on and test.
Yeah, that is true. But, this is Dan Morin, who's the author of this article, and he's, very well-known Mac pundit. So he does come back and say that, it is still extremely popular. There's 35% of new car buyers make sure they want to have CarPlay. I mean, I don't want a car without a CarPlay, and I think we're all exception to the rule since we're all Apple fans here. But I guess it's just you got to be concerned about where that goes with CarPlay too. But like you said, Jeff, it's something that it's going to take time. It's going to take time based on car manufacturers and how they sell things. But we're still getting updates every time. So like iOS 18 is going to add some new updates, and your each OS update from iPhone does give some more updates to it, so it's more fun and more easier to use, especially compared to Android Auto. But it also could be a challenge with Apple too. But I think having the competition with Android versus iOS is important. I mean, it keeps both platforms on their toes. Marty, you showed us the fold that you got for Samsung. Do we have a fold in the future too? So I'm just not. I don't want to go down that road with that topic. I'll just give that as an example. CarPlay is here to stay, and it's going to be a matter of time once we get the full immersed version of it, and automakers are going to take it with open arms, except GM, of course. But yeah, it's interesting to see, and you're going to see more apps that are going to be released that are dedicated to that too. Specifically, I also have article here about Target. Target, big retailer, did release its new CarPlay app with a drive-up order support. So Target is going to roll out it's this week as we record. With this app, you can easily manage your Target drive-up orders and find nearby Target locations using CarPlay. This is a headlining feature of the Target app on CarPlay, is the ability to manage these orders. And this was pointed out on social media that it's going to be very easy to indicate when you're on your way, and then it communicates to the store that you've arrived. So definitely going to see these kind of updates to types of apps that do that. I mean, these days we're all doing shopping by having shoppers do the shopping. Just like what Instacart brings it to your home. Well, there's plenty of times I'm a Sam's Club member. I place orders all the time through their app and go to pick the items up. So why can't you have it integrated into CarPlay so you have to look at your phone to do that? So this is a good start with Target by them doing that too. So you got some thoughts, Ben?
Oh, yeah. I frequently order stuff online at Target, especially their milk, which is very competitively priced.
Mm-hmm.
There are many times when I forget to do that initial I'm on my way, and I have to pull over somewhere and do that. Mm-hmm. Well, being able to do that within CarPlay is a huge step forward.
Great. Anybody else have any insights on comments on that?
Yeah, I just purchased something through Best Buy and was really impressed with, and had purchased through them before, but the idea that I can do curbside pickup and the app allows me to push a button that basically says I'm here. Having that integrated into CarPlay, I don't see why more businesses aren't seeing the opportunities to create apps that will play on CarPlay and integrate. Mm-hmm. Just particularly, you think of some of the large, you mentioned Sam's Club, Walmart, those kinds of businesses should be integrating into CarPlay, just because a good portion of their sales is drive up, pickup.
Yep. Any thoughts, Mike?
Nope. No thoughts. I that's great. It's wonderful. I just hope people aren't sitting there on their car dashes placing orders while they're driving around. We've had enough drivers out there already.
I'm sure there's a restriction in place for that.
It does seem like a great use of location services on the phone. I mean, why not just have the phone automatically alert them that you are there rather than have to press a button? Maybe because of Apple's over-the-top privacy, and every time you want the phone to alert somebody, it won't because it's sitting there telling you that it needs your permission to alert them. But that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, I think a lot of this could be automated. I don't think we need to have the push buttons to tell them we're here. McDonald's does it with their app. I don't know if there's a McDonald's app for CarPlay, but you have to tell them you're here, and then they bring the food out if you ordered. Right. So oddly, the only place I have an app on my phone, and the only place location services actually does what I was just talking about is my doctor's office. You show up for your appointment, and it pops up and says, "Oh, you're here." We'll let them know.
Nice.
Fantastic.
And that's how it should be.
That's how it should be. And I think that more apps should do that instead.
Then, Mike, do you go in the office and wait an hour and a half to be seen at that
point? First, I fill out 45 minutes worth of paperwork.
Yeah.
And then there's an
forms that are
about,
too small.
Yeah. There's an argument about whether my insurance is actually going to cover the appointment or not. And whether there's a copay or all that, Marty. But at least it alerts them automatically that I'm there for,
Sometimes you have to take the little victories.
Yeah. That just tells them to get the sheafs of paper ready to go. That's all it does. Yeah. Anyway.
All right, let's move on to the news this week. There was a big news story this week. Apple's CFO, Luca Mastrani, has decided to step down. He is stepping down from his role as of January 1st, 2025. Apple announced this today. He is not leaving the company. He's going to be leading the corporate services teams, including information systems and technology, information security, and real estate and development. Well, he'll continue to report to Tim Cook. Apple's Vice President of Financial Planning and Analysis, Kevin Parrick, I hope I don't butcher this, Parrick, will take over as Chief Financial Officer, joining the Apple's executive team. In a statement, Tim Cook said that Mastriani was an instrumental part of improving Apple's financial performance. I would definitely say that for a fact. He says Luca has been an extraordinary partner managing Apple for the long term. He has been instrumental in improving and driving the company's financial performance, engaging with the shareholders, insulating financial discipline across every part of Apple. We're fortunate he will continue to benefit from his leadership and insight that has been the hallmark of his tenure at the company. They say he's indispensable. And every time many of us listen to the earnings call, he's always very thorough in understanding where Apple's financial results are, and the stock is showing that too. It's been doing very well. Jeff, what do you think of this?
Good for Luca. He deserves a break. I've seen a lot of speculation that this is a C-suite shakeup, that there's some turmoil thing happening. He's being pushed out. Yeah. I don't think any of that's true. I think after 10 years, he has done enough. And this isn't like this is the first job he's had. Luca has been working for a long time. And I think he's ready to wrap it up. So I think Apple is doing their thing where he steps back, someone else takes over. I've seen reports saying, who's this unknown dude that's taking over? Come on. This is like one of Luca's top lieutenants right here. And is someone who has very likely been groomed to take over for Luca. So he's going to, and Luca isn't really going to be doing anything at the company. Very little. Probably showing up, hanging out, but not there very often. And then later on this next year, there'll be some sort of announcement as a press release that Luca is moving on to whatever else that he plans to do. And it won't matter because we've already had at least 2 earnings reports where Kavan is doing his thing, and there you go. This is just as Apple does, very well orchestrated process of taking someone in a very visible role and letting them move on to what else they're going to do without it being a drama fest.
Yeah.
Ben, go ahead.
Yeah. What people seem to forget was Luca was that unknown name when Peter Oppenheimer stepped down. 10 years ago. This has been a division of Apple that is very well run. It has prepared the next in line very well for that transition to the big office.
Yep. Mike, any thoughts?
No, I'm sorry. I really don't. It's not a story I've been following, so I haven't really dug into it. I apologize.
No worries.
You know what? Don't apologize, because your reaction, I think, is actually completely appropriate. Apple is running so well; they have the right people at the helm, and Luca stepping down is not something that you felt it was necessary for you to check up on and read up on, and that's very telling, right there. Not about you, but about Apple.
Exactly my point, Jeff. You just made my point for me. Thank you very much.
I've got your back.
He does that well. Final word from Marty.
It's, it shows that Apple is fluid, which a lot of time it gets critiques that it's not a fluid organization. They're thinking ahead, and it just seems like a natural progression for someone. Also, I think about stepping down from my position almost every day. So I don't think this is a unique experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't even made millions.
I know. Yeah.
And we've been grooming Ben to take over for you for days.
Yeah.
Mostly it's just combing his hair, but we have to start grooming somewhere.
Yeah, well. Next story here. Apple now lets users transfer Apple Music playlists to YouTube Music and vice versa. This was announced earlier this week as a record. Apple Music subscribers who want to transfer their playlists over to YouTube Music can now do this using Apple's data and privacy page. To do so, Apple says in the new support document, those who subscribe to YouTube Music are also able to transfer the playlists to Apple Music, so you can go vice versa. After logging into the data and privacy page, Apple Music users can now select transfer a copy of your data option and move playlists between the two services. YouTube Music is the only supported music service for playlist transfers, and Apple does not offer options to transfer to other services like Spotify at this time, and I would tend to doubt they probably ever will. And you have to have an active Apple Music subscription or an iTunes Match subscription to be able to do this, which is great. It's because not everybody pays for Apple Music, and Apple iTunes Match, you have your own playlists, and you'd like to do that. So I've gone through this, and it worked really well. I was very impressed. I'm frightened to say that when I did it, it said I had 275 playlists, and probably that's not much compared to other people, but that is quite a bit. And it transferred them over pretty well. Some songs weren't even there. That's the only thing is, because maybe some songs are on Apple Music that aren't on YouTube Music, so the playlist didn't come over completely. But I think this is a cool feature to try, and you can do it very securely. What do you think, Marty?
I'm not a big YouTube Music user, although I've got a premium subscription to YouTube, so I don't know why I'm not. To me, I kind of compartmentalize my music all on my phone. At one time, it was on my iPod.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's my phone, and I see YouTube as a service that I'm looking at video on screens at, not necessarily as a music delivery service. So that's just the way I compare. Now, out of curiosity, since you said it was so cool, I might go ahead and try that, Dave.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I mean, I can understand why not Spotify, but I also don't understand why YouTube. Why would Apple kind of agree to that?
Google? Because they have such a partnership with them?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ben.
Oh, I do. I have a theory there. Apple and Google have been kind of working together to make it easier to transition to each other's platforms. Why, may you ask? It might rhyme with Fanti-Rust.
Ben, you are reading my mind. When I heard this news, I thought, okay, that's really cool. People have some more options here, but this isn't about users. This is about letting regulators know that Apple does and Google don't need to have additional federal rules imposed on them, because look how open and interoperable they are.
Yep. Anything you want to add on this, Mike?
I was listening to Marty and was pretty much agreeing with everything he was saying. I a little on the fence. I don't listen to music on YouTube, whatever it's called. I used to have music in Google Play Music. I used to have music there, and then it went over to YouTube, and I just forgot it exists. The whole concept of listening to audio on a platform that's supposed to be for video, it just seems so foreign to me, to the point where I migrated my podcast for Mac Eyes Only over to YouTube, and I'm still trying to figure out why did I do this? Because it's loading my audio files up as videos. It's not keeping them separate from the videos in my channel. It's merging them all with the videos that I'm putting in my channel on purpose. So the whole point of having audio in there, and then what appears to be duplicates, here's the audio version, here's the video version. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand. And Marty and I have had the conversation, I think on your show before, Dave, that we listen to albums. I don't know that I'm lying. I have created playlists, but I have not created a playlist in probably 10 years. I don't. I just listen to the music I want to listen to. I don't bother with playlists. It does remind me a little bit of mixtape, from the 80s. Yeah. You make a mixtape for someone and you give it to them. I guess it's kind of like that. So yeah, I don't have anyone I need to impress with a mixtape anymore. I've been married for 35 years. I don't have to.
And if you start making them, then you have something to worry about, I guess. Yeah.
Then my wife has something to worry about.
Yeah.
But then Ben raised the point of this whole antitrust thing. And even before he said that, I realized it's about transferring users from Android to iPhone or iPhone to Android. Mm-hmm. It's not about the ability to move a playlist to YouTube. I mean, cool, but I mean, who cares? I have the playlist in Apple Music. Why do I need it now also in YouTube? So yes, I think Ben nailed it. This is about allowing users to freely transfer from one platform to the other. And look how great we are. Look how well we work together. And I think you hit it, Ben.
Yeah. Why doing the minimum necessary?
Just to circle back on your comment about YouTube Music and it being in your channel. One thing I did find is if you go to music.youtube.com, and not only does it put your music in there and doesn't list it in your channel per se of any of your podcasts, because podcasts is incorporated into Apple Music. YouTube Music. So when you go and look up your podcast or look up my podcast here, it will come up and it'll actually be a list of episodes, and you can play it, and it plays just like an audio file. It's not like a video. But I also post on my YouTube channel my audio versions of this show, so you can listen to it that way as well. But that's what confuses people with YouTube is you have it that way, and then you also have it the other way where you can go to the YouTube Music and be able to listen to any podcasts, because that's what they did. They shut down Google Podcasts and merged it all into YouTube Music, and YouTube. That's what happened. So,
except in my case, they had me move it to YouTube. That's where they had me move it to. And so if I leave the episodes public, they merge with my videos. So I have to leave them unlisted. And so now I don't even know if they show up in Google Music, YouTube, whatever they're calling it these days. And it's like OneDrive. What name has Microsoft picked for it this week? Well, I don't know what name Google has picked for Google Music or YouTube Music or whatever this week, but whatever it's called, I don't know. Get off my lawn, Dave.
Mike, I recently uploaded episodes from a podcast since I started doing video episodes of the same series.
Yeah.
And it does lump them all into one. And from the homepage of your channel, and when you go in, what I've had to do is separate them out into two different playlists. One playlist is the video playlist, and one playlist is the audio playlist. And that makes a little more visual sense to me, because I'm like, if you're coming here for the audio, that's where it's at. If you want to watch the video, here's where it's at.
Yeah. And not to take over Dave's show even more, but they helpfully create a podcast playlist for you, but you can't put that on your homepage unless you make all the episodes public. And if you make all the episodes public and someone just clicks on your videos tab, then they're all mixed in. So maybe Google just needs to think it through. But I am with you, Marty, and I did experiment with creating a playlist just for the audio episodes, and that seemed to work. But it seemed like double the work when they're already creating a playlist for me. So
Yeah.
Neither here nor there. Still playing with it.
Just to close this out, I did in our private chat here on Zoom, I shared the FMEO YouTube music page. So if you click that link, it's going to actually, you'll be able to see all the episodes listed as episodes and not videos.
So even though I left them unlisted, they're still there. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, well then that's all I need. I'll just leave them unlisted. Then they won't show up in my videos, and they show up in here. Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you,
because
Dave.
yeah, of course, it's more or less it's pulling your RSS feed into YouTube Music.
This is why we should all listen to In Touch with iOS, because Dave has the answers.
He's on top of it.
He solves our problems week after week. Dave solves our problems.
I try.
Thanks,
all right.
Dave.
No problem. Let's a couple more news stories I'd like before we wrap up here. Apple did lay off about 100 service staff across Apple Books and News. A part of a shift in priorities, Apple made cuts to this workforce. Eddie Q's services division. This is from Bloomberg. And about 100 employees impacted. The cuts were reportedly given 60-day window to secure other positions within Apple and before their termination becomes effective. The scope of layoffs is extended beyond a single team, which some employees work across multiple departments, feeling the ripple effects of Apple's apparent cost optimization effort. And they're focusing on Apple Books and bookstore teams and the news team. So that kind of it's interesting. The fact that they've increased their services immensely. I was talking about this during Max Talk and saying how I really enjoy Apple News, and I find it to be a good this kind of I worry about this. Well, why are they pulling a lot of these resources away from Apple News if they're really trying to grow it? It is growing. So I'm gonna start with you, Mike. What do you think on this?
Well, as you know from my question, I asked of you at Max Talk. I don't really use Apple News.
Right.
I don't pay for the premium version of it. So
right.
Maybe that's the core problem. Is there just aren't enough people.
Yeah.
What's that, Jeff?
This is all your fault.
It's my fault. It's my fault. Books. I use Apple Books to gather together the books I've collected elsewhere, or PDFs or things like that. I don't purchase Apple Books. I don't buy news subscriptions. And it could be that there just aren't enough people. They're both great services, but others are great services, though ad supported. So I don't know.
That's all right. How about you, Ben?
I honestly do not know what to feel about this. If it's something where they're just kind of reallocating resources, it is what it is. I'm just hoping they're not shifting to the industry standard of cutting people just to make, the core look a little bit better.
Okay. How about you, Marty?
I have never purchased an Apple book because long before Apple came along with Apple Books, I was doing stuff on Kindle. And so that kind of becomes my center reading piece. And again, like music, I like to pick one channel and kind of go with that. And so I've never been seduced over to Apple Books to purchase them. I do use it for technical documents, sometimes dissertations that I have to read in PDF.
Sure.
Although there are better PDF readers than Apple Books provides. And then some other books that I've purchased that are technical books around Apple and Mac products. There's a service that provides those kind of books, and they just read really well in Apple Books, and I keep them organized there. But purchasing through that through Apple Books really never happens for me. Because if I purchase that book there, that's the one book that'll be there, and I'll forget that it's there because there are another 200 books in the other service that I use. So,
Yep. A final word on this from Jeff.
Ben, I don't think you need to worry that Apple is cutting employees to make the bottom line look better.
No.
My hypothesis, and Brian Chaffin and I, we were talking about this some earlier on the episode of the context machine that will be appearing soon.
Psychic powers.
Yeah. So here's my take on this. Apple has resources that were necessary but aren't now, and that's probably because they figured out how to streamline what they're doing, and so those people can now go find jobs in other parts of the company. And Ben, that's part of what's telling me this isn't about Apple trying to goose the bottom line. And seriously, 100 employees, you're going to have to get rid of a lot more to goose Apple's bottom line. But telling them, hey, you have a couple months to find other places in Apple to fit in, and not just axing them outright.
Right.
Yeah. So I think there's something else that's happening behind the scenes that's impacting this. Also, I do not think that Apple is getting out of the ebook market. And yes, they lost that market to Amazon thanks to the antitrust case several years ago. And I don't think Apple's going to try and beat Amazon at the game that the government says Amazon gets to win.
Yep. You have one last thought, Mike.
I do have one last thought. Once again, Marty raised a great point. He doesn't buy books in Apple Books. And I guess I should clarify what I meant when I said I've never purchased a book through it either. I have purchased many, many free books through Apple Books, the vast majority of which are Apple's own user guides. If people have not turned to the Apple Books app and looked up the user guides for Final Cut Pro or the Swift coding language or name it, you name it. And Apple has written a user guide. If you are a traditionalist and you like to have an actual user guide that you can go through and learn about the products that Apple puts out, whether it's software or hardware, this is an amazing, amazing resource for that. Exactly. So if even if you never purchase, pay good money for a book, definitely turn to the Apple Books app for Apple's own manuals. Fantastic resource. And I just wanted to add that because I
agree.
Yeah,
300%. I download those all the time.
Yep.
I always keep copies of those. They obviously have live versions of all those manuals on the web, but just having the Apple Book version of it is there. So
yeah.
Getting a little short on time here. I just want to make sure we get through 2 more stories here. I just want to mention about Pocket Cast. Pocket Cast is one of my favorite podcast aggregators, or podcatchers as we call it. And they added a new feature called that you can actually rate your favorite podcasts in Pocket Cast now. And this is the new version in iOS and Android 7.70. You can go in and actually go into the podcast as it comes up, and it gives you an opportunity to be able to actually rate that. So go to Pocket Casts and rate In Touch by iOS, rate for Mac eyes only. Go out there and use this tool to do your ratings. And you don't have to do it in just Apple Podcasts. You can also now do it in Pocket Casts. So I think that's a nice added way of supporting the podcasts you enjoy. And then the last story here, this is kind of a PSA. I thought this was kind of interesting. YouTube videos can really get some water out of your iPhone. YouTube videos that play a low sound to vibrate water out of the speakers do, in fact, work, according to a deep dive done by The Verge's David Pierce from And iFixit. There is a number of YouTube videos that actually promise that you'll be able to remove water from an iPhone using sound. And Pierce wanted to find out if that's what they claim that's going to happen. So iFixit, surprise, was asked for some help. So they dunked an iPhone 13 into water with UV dye, played the video, and then left it overnight to dry out. Playing one of the YouTube videos during the process clearly expelled water from the iPhone speaker, and the speakers of other smartphones were tested from Google and Nokia. The water came out in an initial burst from the sound, but it's worth noting that the video was only able to remove the water in the speaker area. There's a key right there, and I'm not going to go on and on about this, but Jeff, what do you think of this? I thought this amusing.
Okay, it's funny, but at the same time, since we've had the ability to use the speaker vibrating to push water out of an Apple Watch, why wasn't this already a thing on the iPhone?
Yeah, because you have it on the Apple Watch, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and yeah, it's not going to get water out that's not where the speaker is, of course. And same on the Apple Watch. If there's water that's gotten inside and behind the speaker, yeah, doing the little vibrate thing isn't going to push that water out. But still, why wasn't this already a thing?
Yeah.
Any other comments on this?
Yeah. So if you want to get water out of your speakers, just play the Zemo cut.
There you go.
There you go. So just check that out. There's a link there. All right. But before we go, we do this every week because we love MacStock and want to make sure that we're supporting MacStock, and MacStock Deck 8 is behind us. But we do have a digital pass that might be coming up soon. And why not the person that's the organizer of MacStock, Mike Potter, to tell us how things are going with that and where people can go buy that.
It's going amazingly well. Everyone who has purchased a digital pass, specifically, I want the digital pass. Everyone who's purchased the digital pass now has access to all but one of the talks from MacStock. That talk being, I apologize, Jeff and Chuck's in the afternoon on Sunday. I just haven't finished it yet.
I assumed it was because of the content, and that checks out.
It was a great talk.
I didn't know you did. You finished yet. You should have told me. I would have been announcing this like crazy.
As I told folks, there was a little issue with the audio. We had some audio recording issues with the videos from MacStock, and the levels were just atrocious. However, thanks to the amazing abilities of Final Cut Pro and Audacity and some other tools I've thrown at it, I've been able to recover the audio to the extent that they're very, very, very listenable. They sound great, actually. And,
I'm kind of disappointed.
We did have video drop.
3-year-olds redub dialogue.
That would
have been fantastic.
Next year, Jeff. There was one talk where the recording stopped, unfortunately, but that's why we have backups. We have the recordings from the cameras. Anyone who's been to MacStock, I'm recording on 2 different cameras. We've got the main recording. We've got like 3 or 4 recordings going the entire weekend. So I was able to recover those lost 5 minutes from one of the camera recordings. And so the audio on that is not as great, but it's a short bit at the beginning of the video, and it sounds fine. Again, the new AI voice isolation features of Final Cut really helped recover that audio quite well. It was almost unlistenable before I threw the voice isolation feature at it. So props to Final Cut for that. But that said, there's the one left, Jeff and Chuck's. I should have that done tomorrow, actually. And then they'll all be there. All the talks from MacStock will be there. And then the Short Film Festival will be the next one I finish up and get on there. And I think we'll be complete then. But if someone has purchased the digital pass or purchases a digital pass right now, they'll have access to them right away. Those who attended MacStock, I'm now going through the list of attendees and adding the appropriate permissions to your account so that you can watch the digital pass. And once I'm done with that, then newsletter will go out and everyone will have access. So
and then you'll start prepping for next year.
We're looking good. We're looking good, Dave.
All right. Well, I can't even view it yet. I have to click the purchase. So
no, you don't have to click the purchase. You are an attendee, my friend. Attendees don't have to click purchase. Do not click purchase if you're an attendee.
I'm not going to. I said, but I still have a lock yet. So
it gets to be a big mess. Don't
I'm not doing
that. If
you
were there, you'll have access. Here, I'll give you access right now.
No. I'm just teasing.
No.
I have to click the purchase.
You can always watch the videos without the audio and do your own dubbing, which is a lot of fun.
You know, maybe
would.
next year you should do an MST3K thing where you take a video from the previous year and have other people dub the voices in real time. Like they have to stand there and watch the video and say what they think the people are saying. I guess it'd be more of like a bad lip reading than a
Bad lip
MST3K.
reading,
Okay, Dave, you now have access. Okay, stop complaining.
I was teasing.
I just added access to your account. You're the very first one who attended who has access now.
Okay.
Finally, we'll be able to we won't have to listen to Dave complain about this anymore.
Oh my gosh.
I'm telling you.
every show.
But
I do
have to make sure. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I lied. I do have a what I call my test robot account. That's not the name of it. If I told you the name, then people would start trying to hack it. It's like my test robot account that I use to make sure things are working. That has had access. So I apologize, Dave. The little robot had access to it before you.
Oh my gosh.
You are the very first person to have access who attended.
I guess I should feel honored.
But so what I'm hearing is your little robot's more important to you than Dave. I see how it is.
Everybody get in line behind the fake account. Is what you're saying.
You always have to bring things down, don't you, Jeff?
We love you, Jeff.
You know, I have that dark cloud hanging over me all the time.
Okay, Eeyore.
All right. Well, make sure you go to max.conferenceandexpo.com and go to the digital pass link and purchase that digital pass to see all this great content that is out there from Max.8 and support Max
content. Fantastic talks this year.
Yeah, really had a great time. So please go and check it out. So let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. What a great show. Really appreciate all of you here this week and everybody listening and watching. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon on @intouchwithios, at techhangout.social. Support the show. Buy me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified of when we are live streaming, which is Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/intouchwithios. Great to see Cletus and Brian and many others out there this week. You can be joining us live while we're doing this. And you also can go there and watch the current and past live streams, as well as listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics are discussed and flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts. Please use Pocket Casts or rate this show. It's on Overcast as well, Apple Podcasts, and you can rate the show on Apple Podcasts too, and many others. But better yet, go to our website, which is intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are linked on that website. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 and Mastodon.cloud. Mike Potter, where can people find you? Thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me, Dave. This is awesome. I always enjoy being here. Folks can find me at formacisonly.com. Our next episode is going to be September 9th. Reaction time episode. Noon, live on YouTube. We give our live reactions to the events as they unfold on stage, to Apple's recordings. Did you notice that they were very specific about saying watch our presentation? Yeah. Anyway.
Oh.
Yeah. So, formacisonly.com or youtube.com/FMEOTV. And I am occasionally on Mastodon as well, tooting.ninja/@formacisonly. Thanks, Dave.
Great. Thanks for being here. So what, Ben Roethig? Ben Roethig, thanks for being here. Always a pleasure having you as well. Where can people find you?
Well, Dave, you can find me on the social medias at Ben Roethig. On Tuesdays, you can normally find me on this little show called Mac Voices with Chuck Joyner. On Thursday and Friday, you can find me on the British Tech Network, hosted by Mr. Jeff Gamet. And of course, Thursdays, you can find me here on In Touch with iOS with Dave Ginsburg.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it. Jeff Gamet, always a pleasure having you here as well. Where can people find you?
It's always a treat to be here, and I do appreciate that you put up with me, so thank you for this. All right, social media, J Gamet everywhere. I'm active on Mastodon and Instagram right now. And then for shows, Tuesdays for Chuck Joyner's Mac Voices Live, here on Thursdays with Dave for In Touch with iOS. Then on the British Tech Network that Ben just mentioned, The Big Show on Thursdays, The Mac Show on Fridays. Brian Chaffin and I do The Context Machine, and Patrice Brendamore and I do Retro Rewatch. And I think that's all the shows. So for now. Yeah, that's enough for now.
All right. And last but certainly not least, Marty Jencius. It's such a pleasure having you on the show as well, where people can find you.
It's fun being here. I really enjoy it. And I wind up forcing myself to learn something every week, which is great. So you can find me at Jencius, Jencius, at mastodon.social. Also, Tuesdays with Mac Voices, Thursdays here on In Touch with iOS, and then my own shows, one on Vision Profiles, Vision Pro, Apple Vision Pro, called Vision Profiles. You can catch it at YouTube at Vision Profiles, and also Circular Firing Squad is another one that I have on YouTube. It's at CFS Podcast.
Great. Thank you so much, and thank you for watching, for listening, and being part of the show. We really have a blast doing it every week and enjoy bringing you all this great content about Apple, and everything else that we enjoy doing here relates to that. But it's time to go, and we'll be back next week. But until next time, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and we'll talk again soon.